everyone. My group is Group 4. Today's devotional is John chapter 16:33. You will have tribulation in this world. The entire verse is I have sent these things to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but take heart, I have overcome the world. The word tribulation is very suggestive. It comes from a root which means a flail. The reader uses flail to beat the wheat sheaves, that he may spread the golden wheat from the chaff and straw. Tribulation is God's reader, not to destroy us, but to get what is good, heavenly, and spiritual in us. Separated from what is wrong, earthly, and fleshly. Nothing less than blows of pain will do this. The evil so strongly clings to the good. The golden weight of goodness in us is so closely wrapped up in the strong chaff of sin, that only the heavy flail of suffering can produce the separation. Suffering is like John the Baptist wearing green garments, with stern visage and rough hands, and a baptism of bitter tears, under sharp, harsh words, going before Christ to prepare us for his gentle coming and his messenger of love. Many of us would never enter the gates of purity were it not for this unwelcome messenger. Pain. Here I want to share a story about tribulation in Bible. According to Exodus chapter 16, 3 verse, the Israelites said to them, if only we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the pots of meat, when we ate bread to the full. For you have brought us out into this desert to kill this whole assembly with hunger. It is the same thing when we allow life's disappointments to make us disappointed. The problem of Christian living in this troublesome world is not to escape experience of hardship, but to retain sweetness of spirit in all such experience. We must have hardships, losses, sorrows, but see to it that you retain through all this a gentle heart, full of trust and hope. Then, when the harsh adversity is past, you will emerge unharmed, with even richer life, tender beauty, and deeper joy. The secret of such victorious living is the trust in God which never fails. Okay, so for today's devotional already finished.
Hello everyone, we are Group 4 and today we will discuss about learning domains. So my name is Marie Hernilia and I'm here to do the introductory phase. So as for our objectives, at the end of the presentation, students are expected to identify Bloom's taxonomy, explain the importance of the 3 learning domains, and apply the knowledge gained from the presentation. So this is the learning domains. We have cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. Learning is everywhere, and we can learn mental skills, develop our attitudes, and acquire new physical skills as we perform the activities of our daily living. As we have to remember, learning is not just about attaining knowledge, but it is also about developing our 3 domains. Mental skills corresponds to our cognitive domain. Developing our attitudes corresponds to our affective domain, and acquiring new skills corresponds to our psychomotor domain. So knowledge, attitudes, and skills. This categorization is best explained by the taxonomy of learning domains formulated by a group of researchers led by Benjamin Bloom in 1956. thus calling it Bloom's taxonomy. So, Bloom's taxonomy is what our teachers are widely using today. The taxonomy of learning is set into three categories: cognitive domain by Benjamin Bloom, affective domain by David Caldwell, and psychomotor domain by Anita Harrow. Now, let's talk about what is taxonomy. Taxonomy came from the two Greek words taxis or arrangement and nomos means science. In more simpler meaning, science of arrangement. It is a set of classification principles, structure, or domain that simply means category. What is Bloom's taxonomy? So Bloom's taxonomy is a classification system. It is used to define and distinguish different levels of human cognition like thinking, learning, and understanding. It is a set of three hierarchical models: the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor, used to classify educational learning objectives into three levels of complexity and specificity. In teaching or education, it is important to determine what it is you would like students or learners to be able to do, learn, or acquire by the end of the course. So a key component of this is by identifying your objectives aligned with the level of complexity for learning outcomes. So using Bloom's taxonomy allows you to determine whether there is a variety in the complexity of your current learning outcomes and how you would get there. So we use Bloom's taxonomy in creating our objectives aligned in our learning outcomes, the things that we want our students to learn. So just like here in our presentation's objectives, it is aligned to what we reporters would want you learners to do, learn, and acquire. So these objectives are created based on the verbs from Bloom's taxonomy. So Bloom's taxonomy has different verbs that are used to describe the learning objectives and learning outcomes. So the first one that we used is identify, that corresponds to our cognitive domain. Second one is explain, which corresponds to our affective domain, and apply, which corresponds to our psychomotor. Identify, explain, and apply. Developing and delivering holistic lessons developed by educators are integral in teaching process. It is hence important for them to ensure that the three domains of learning, which includes cognitive, the thinking, affective, emotions or feeling, and psychomotor, physical or kinesthetic, to be achieved. Each domain is divided into lots or low order thinking skills, just like what is you can see in the picture below, and HOTS or high order thinking skills. This tells the complexity of the learning outcome or objectives. So the higher it gets, the more complex it is. And the more complex it is, the more involved, committed, and internally motivated the learning will become. So now, let's talk about the three domains of learning.
I'm going to explain about cognitive domain. Do you know what is cognitive domains? The cognitive domain involves knowledge and the development of intellectual skill of the learners. This includes the recall or recognition of specific facts, procedural patterns, and concepts that serve in the development of intellectual abilities and skills. The cognitive domains are divided in 6 categories. First is knowledge. The learning outcome of knowledge is an ability to remember facts without necessarily understanding. The relating word or collect, define, describe, find, identify, list, memorize, name, order, outline, recall, recognize, repeat, show, state. And the second is comprehension. The learning outcomes of comprehension is an ability to understand and interpret learned information. The words are clarify, contrast, convert, decode, defend, describe, differentiate, discuss, distinguish, explain, illustrate, predict. Third is application. The learning outcomes of application is an ability to use learned material in new situations. The words are apply, assess, calculate, complete, compute, demonstrate, develop, examine, interpret, produce, select, show, transfer. First is analysis. The learning outcomes of analysis is an ability to break down information into its components. The words are analyze, appraise, break down, categorize, compare, connect, criticize, differentiate, divide, examine, investigate. Fifth is synthesis. The learning outcomes of synthesis is an ability to put parts together. The words are arrange, assemble, combine, compile, compose, construct, create, design, develop, generate, invent, make, plan, prepare. Sixth is evaluation. The learning outcomes of evaluation is an ability to judge value of material for a given purpose. The words are apply, argue, conclude, convince, criticize, decide, evaluate, grade, interpret, judge, rate, recommend. In educating our client, patient, customer, it is important to learn the cognitive domain to identify the appropriate learning design for them to learn better and excel to their higher order thinking skill. It is application. You're invited to be a nurse speaker in a nutrition mouse program of your alma mater school. The main focus of your mind is to let the student learn the step in hand washing to help them be more careful when eating. In order to be successful in achieving your desired outcome, you must create a learning objective that is aligned with your desired learning outcome by the use of Bloom's cognitive domain. You wanted them to fall under level 3, which is application. There you created an objective. At the end of the message, the student will be able to demonstrate steps in hand washing. With that objective, you are able to create an activity called mirroring. During your message, the students must copy or mimic the steps and actions you do about hand washing, thus helping them to remember, understand, and apply hand washing.
I will introduce the knowledge about affective domain. First, in this slide, we can see many informational experiences. We can see happy, sad, embarrassed, hungry, cry, so many experiences. Now we will start our knowledge. The affective domain includes the manner in which we deal with things emotionally. such as feelings, values, appreciation, enthusiasm, motivations, and attitudes. For this chart, we can see affective level. We just see lower level firstly. The first level is receiving. What means receiving? Behavior, example like open to experience or idea willing to hear. To differentiate, to accept, to listen for, to respond to. And the second level is responding. Responding behavior is get involved in or participate actively. Example include to comply with, to follow, to command, to volunteer, to spend leisure time to action. About third level, the behavior attach values and experience personal opinions. The example like to increase method proficiency in, to subsidize, to support, to debate. The fourth level is organizing behavior, recognizing disparate elements of conflict, develop a value system. Organization includes to discuss, to series, to formulate, to balance, and to examine. The last one is also highest level, internalizing, also called characterization by value set. To revise, to require, to be rated high in value, to avoid, to resist, to manage, to resolve. And next, we as educators won't just establish the cognitive skills of learning, but also need to establish their good heart for the learning. Yeah, we just see this slide. The height is internalizing values. Value system is internalized and controls behavior. Next is organization. Proper to these values and resolve conflicts between them. Third is value. Place this value on a behavior, idea, person, situation, and responding, learning, actively response, and participate. Receiving. Learning is willing to pay attention and listen with respect. This is application. One day, you were assigned to pediatric ward. You met a happy-go-lucky mother that seems to be not caring much about the condition of her 7-year-old daughter, whom is diagnosed with a salmonella infection. The children's hygiene is elevated poor, which perhaps is the main reason why she got salmonella. As a nursing educator, you wanted to help the mother and the child. For that reason, you have desired to develop the cleanliness value of the mother. Learning outcome. This is learning outcome. You created an objective to perform the importance of cleanliness, reaching level 2 of affective domain. Responding. Thus, that afternoon, when you checked the patient, the mother's doctor, you talked for a bit with the mother. You decided to help her reflect, this is activity, on the importance of cleanliness. You also instructed her to ensure to cleanliness of the child to avoid such scenarios. Before you leave, you told her to cut the nails of the child and let her take a bath.
Okay, thank you, Yili. Now we're going to be talking about the psychomotor domains. So now I'm going to go ahead and screen share. So psychomotor domain. Here are all the people doing physical things. You know, there's someone in a wheelchair, or someone raking, someone helping someone get up. So those are all examples. And the psychomotor domain includes physical movement, coordination, and use of the motor skill areas. Development of these skills requires practice and is measured in terms of speed, precision, distance, procedures, or techniques in execution. So here's the lowest level to the highest level. So the lowest go to the highest is perception, set, guided response, mechanism, complex overt response, adaptation, and origination. So here are all of the levels. So perception senses cues that guide motor activity. Set is mentally, emotionally, and physically ready to act. Guided response imitates and practices skills, often in discrete steps. Mechanism performs acts with increasing efficiency, confidence, and proficiency. Complete overt response performs automatically. Adaptation adapts skill sets to meet a problem situation. Organization creates new patterns for specific situations. So the application is, at home, you notice that your mother is becoming addicted in using her phone. That makes her stay late at night and have not enough sleep or rest. She's been like this for over a month now, and you are afraid for her health. So your goal is to help your mother reduce the usage of her phone and make her sleep as early as possible, the learning outcome. You created your objective, which is to improve sleeping habit. Later that night, when you arrived at home from work, you talked to your mother and had a conversation about it. You both agreed that you will set an alarm or an activity for her to know when it is time to sleep and turn off her phone. This agreement is your learning tool, which will help her perform the desired outcome. It fell to psychomotor domain level 4 mechanism. Okay, now we'll move on to the next presenter.
Hello everyone, it's me again, Marie Zernilia, and today we are now on the outro of our discussion. So now let's talk about the importance of Bloom's taxonomy. So Bloom's taxonomy lays out a framework in creating objectives for different learning levels of the students and learners. So Bloom's taxonomy will help us to know or determine different verbs depending on the level of complexity that we want to use for the students' learning. So again, Bloom's taxonomy is a framework. Also, Bloom's taxonomy helps us produce designs, methods, exercises, and tools to achieve the desired learning outcomes for the learners. So depending on what level of complexity you want the learners to be at or to achieve, Bloom's taxonomy helps us to create and identify different methods that will help them to learn better. Also, Bloom's taxonomy shows us the order in which we must teach our students various things so that they can reach the higher levels of thinking that we want them to achieve. So if our students are at this level, Bloom's taxonomy helps us to let them achieve a higher level of thinking skills. And lastly, Bloom's taxonomy helps us to develop the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor learning aspect of the learners. And we must remember that these three aspects of the learners is the most important that we want the learners to learn or to develop. The cognitive, their thinking; affective, their emotions and feelings; and psychomotor, their physical skills. So, for additional info, Lauren Anderson, a former student of Bloom and David Krautwohl, revisited the cognitive domain in the mid-90s and made some changes, with perhaps the three most prominent ones being. So, Lauren changed the names in the 6 categories from the noun to verb forms, just you can see at the picture below. Lauren also rearranged them as shown in the chart and created a process and levels of knowledge matrix. So, what Lauren changed in the new taxonomy today is widely used by our educators because it reflects a more active form of thinking and perhaps more accurate. But though revised, its function and categorization is still the same. So for our summary, we have the three domains: the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. Cognitive, learner's ability to process information in a meaningful way. Knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, evaluation. And affective, learner's attitude and feelings that are a result of the learning process: receiving, responding, valuing, organizing, characterizing. And psychomotor, learner's ability to use motor skills to learn: perception, set, guided response, mechanism, complex overt response, adaptation, and origination. So that's all. Thank you. We hope you learned from us. God bless everyone. Hello everyone. We are the group 4 and today we will discuss about the principles of teaching and learning. So my name is Marie Zernilia and I am here today to do the introductory phase. So first let's talk about what is principles. So principles, according to dictionary, are fundamental truth or proposition that serves as a foundation for a system of belief or behavior or for a chain of reasoning. So principles are foundation. And today we will talk about different foundations of teaching and learning. So the question is, why do we have to learn this? Since we are in this course or subject, health education, it means that in the future, we will be also an educators. So it is essential for us to learn different principles of teaching and learning. So it will help us to develop different techniques, strategies, and methods that will help us to teach and also help us to be learners because we are not just teachers, we are also learners. So in this discussion, we will learn different principles about teaching and learning. So for our objective today, at the end of the discussion, students are expected to recognize the principles of teaching and learning, acknowledge its importance, and apply the learnings gained. So the students here now are you guys. So I hope you will be able to recognize the different principles of teaching and learning, acknowledge its importance, and apply the learnings that you gained today. So now, let's proceed to the 10 principles of effective teaching. And next to it is the effective principles of effective learning. So I'll pass it now to the next reporter.
There are 10 principles of effective teaching. The first one is create an active learning environment. In order for students to gain knowledge from the presentation of information, they should actively participate in their learning. Active learning provides opportunities for students to talk and listen, read, write, and reflect as they approach course content through problem-solving exercises, informal small groups, simulations, case studies, role-playing in class questions, and other activities, all of which require students to apply what they are learning and or think about what they are learning as they are learning. Louvet in 2003. Second is focused attention. Students in introductory courses often cannot tell what is central from what is peripheral, foreground from background, subordinate from subordinate. Angelo in 1993 P4. We need to focus the attention of students on the aspects that matter most. For example, providing course outline or schedule where students will be able to monitor or focus more. Posting syllabus, calendar, activities, and tasks aligned to each lesson topic. Third, connect knowledge. The more meaningful and appropriate connections students make between what they know and what they are learning, the more permanently they will anchor new information in long-term memory, and the easier it will be for them to access that information when it is needed. Angelo, in 1993, P5, for example, designed quizzes that tie prior knowledge to current knowledge. Fourth, help students productively manage their time. Time plus energy equal learning. Learning to use one's time well is critical for students and professionals alike. Allocating realistic amount of time means effective learning for students and effective teaching for faculty. Chickling and Ehrman in 1996 P4. For example, announce major class events, assignments, and approaching deadlines. Promote the establishment of priorities. Fifth, provide timely feedback.
Now we will start the fifth principles. Regular feedback helps learners efficiently direct their attention and energies, helps them avoid major errors and dead ends, and keeps them from learning things they later will have to unlearn and great cost. It also can serve as a motivating form of interaction between teacher and learning and among learners. When students learn to internalize the voice of the coach, they can begin to give themselves corrective feedback. Okay, now we just continue to look the six principles. 14 principle of effective teaching. I will start from 6 point. Six, demand quality. Expect more and you will get more. High expectations are important for everyone, for the poorly prepared, for those unwilling to exert themselves, and for the bright and well motivated. Expecting students to perform well becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Example: provide Arabic or grading criteria by which students will be evaluated. 7. Balance high expectation with student support. Bernie described a technical called scaffolding, a process through which a teacher ends supports for students in order to enhance learning and aid in the mastery of tasks. Example: a parent, teacher, or older sibling would use language or concepts slightly advanced of a child's existing ability in order to challenge the child to grow their understanding. As the understanding increased, the language or concept advanced as well. This method would continually challenge the child to learn new meaning, yet not overwhelm the child by using language or concepts too advanced for the child to grasp. 8. Enhance motivation to learn. Motivation to learn is alterable. It can be positively or negatively affected by the task, the environment, the teacher, and the learning. Motivate your students by conveying the value of what you are teaching. Make them believe that learning it will help them achieve other important goals. Help them believe that they are capable of learning it, and show them that you expect that they will succeed. 9. Encourage faculty-student and student-student interaction and communication. Frequent student or faculty contact in and out of class is the most important factor in student motivation and involvement. Faculty concern helps students get through rough times and keep working. Knowing a few faculty members will enhance students' intellectual commitment and encourages them to think about their own values and plans. This concept applies equally to student-student interaction. Example: have students study in groups, team up for group projects or problem solving, and discuss assignments to deepen student-to-student interaction and reciprocity. Last one. 10. Help students organize their knowledge. Information without organization and context does not promote learning. Information organized is personally meaningful, which is more likely to be retained, learned, and used. Example: have students construct timelines that illustrate school events, or have students create a concept map. Now we will start 5 principles of learning.
Okay, so for the 5 principles of learning principles are guidelines for the ways in which people learn most effectively. The more these principles are reflected in training, the more effective training is likely to be. Number 1, participation. Learning should permit and encourage active participation of the learner. Participation improves motivation and apparently engages more senses that reinforce the learning process. As a result of participation, people learn more quickly and retain that learning longer. The learning activities should be experimental rather than just informational. Therefore, the trainer should arrange the physical surroundings to facilitate small group interaction and promote the sharing of ideas. Number 2, repetition. An important principle of the learning is to provide the learner with the opportunity for practice and repetition. To gain the full benefit of training, learned behaviors must be overlearned to ensure smooth performance and minimum of forgetting at a later date. Proficiency in learning and retaining new skills is improved when individuals visualize themselves performing the new behavior. Number 3, relevance. Learning is helped when the material to be learned is meaningful. The learning should be problem-centered rather than content-centered. People are motivated to learn when training is immediately relevant to help them solve a current problem. Learning something just because someone says it is important is not as motivating. Number 4, transference. Because the training occurs in a special environment, an important question to ask is whether learning will transfer to the actual job situation. Transfer of training occurs when trainees can apply the knowledge and skills learned in training course to their jobs. If the learning in one setting does not transfer to the actual job situation, the training has failed. Number 5, feedback. Feedback gives learners information on their progress. Performance feedback is a necessary prerequisite for learning. Feedback improves performance not only by helping learners correct their mistakes, but also by providing reinforcement for learning. And now we will have the summary by Mars.
Hello everyone, it's me again, Maris Vernelia, and we are now on the outro phase of our discussion. So for our summary, these are the 10 principles of effective teaching. 1, create an active learning environment. 2, focus attention. 3, connect knowledge. 4, help students organize their knowledge. 5, provide timely feedback. 6, demand quality. 7, balance high expectation with student support. 8, enhance motivation to learn. 9, communicate your message in a variety of ways. And 10, help students to productively manage their time. So these are the 10 principles of effective teaching. So I hope you learned different ways in how you can teach children or students or learners better. So it's about the environment, getting their attention, that getting their focus, and connecting what they have learned in your previous lessons and connecting them in your present lesson, and helping them organize their knowledge. Giving them feedback is necessary so that they can be motivated, and also the quality of your lessons are important, and support and motivation, communication, and time is important. Now these are the five principles of learning: one, participation; two, repetition; three, relevance; four, transfers; and five, feedback. So these are all important in the students' learning. So I hope it will not just help students, our future students, to learn, but it will also help us be learners. So I hope we all have learned in this discussion. So that's all, and thank you.